Welcome to Real Talk Hilton Head with David and Dale Cross, the real estate lifestyle podcast of Coastal Carolina.
Join us as we share stories from our community, insight into the local lifestyle, and the real scoop on real estate.
From market trends to home design, we dive deep into what it means to live and thrive here.
Discover the state of mind and philosophy of the Low Country that enriches life through personal growth, health and wellness, and human connection.
Whether you're a local or thinking of becoming one, we're here to guide you through the ins and outs of living this coastal escape.
Tune in, relax, and enjoy the conversation with Real Talk Hilton Head,
the podcast of Coastal Carolina.
This episode is brought to you by the David Dale team, powered by eXp Realty in Hilton Head.
Well, welcome back to Real Talk Hilton Head, the real estate lifestyle podcast of Coastal Carolina. I'm your co-host, David Cross. Today, Dale, my wife, my partner, my co-host, she's not going to be with us today because we're going to do this as a Zoom podcast. You may recognize this is not the studio that we're usually in. So we're doing this virtual. We're doing it as a Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right. So today, I want to talk about the way people buy and own second homes is changing. And Plum Co-Ownership is leading that change. So here in Hilton Head, we have a bunch of resort-style communities. You have places like Sea Pines, Palmetto Dunes, Shipyard, things like that. People come and visit. They love it. And they're like, how do I get a piece of this paradise? And so what we see is incredible demand for second homes and rentals, but the price tag usually is out of reach. That's what's happening here in Hilton Head is what you could buy for, $150,000, $200,000, 15 years ago is now costing you $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. But these properties make money. They make a lot of money, and they turn the rental machines never stop. So today, I want to challenge you. Anybody who's watching this or listening to this, and according to a report I just saw, 8 in 10 Americans want a second home. This is for you because what if there's a smarter way to own a part of that dream while still building equity and creating lifestyle memories? And so I'm going to lead right in today to my guest. His name is Doug Rich. He is the founder and CEO of Plum Co-Ownership. And I just want to welcome Doug to the show. So welcome to Real Talk Hilton Head, Doug.
Thanks, Dave. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I can't tell you enough. The more I dug into this after that first initial conversation we had about how thrilling this is. And it's in combination because I think when we talked, I told you that we just did an episode on tokenization of real estate, which allows for fractional ownership. And it sort of weaved right into what you're already doing. So I feel like you're at the cutting edge. I know this has been around for a while, and I know people are going to have a misconception about it probably. So I want to put some of that to bed. So I'm going to tee this first question up with you. So Plum is redefining the way people buy and manage second homes. So for someone who's listening, who's dreamed of owning here in Hilton Head, and I do want to tie this to my Hilton Head market because that's what I do. We're real estate here. But so somebody who's thought about owning here, but they thought it was out of reach, how does Plum make that dream possible?
Yeah, so that's, the great question. And everybody asks, what is it that Plum does that kind of changes the market and changes the game, even for people who are investing to be able to have a rental income from their homes, but they don't have the money to buy a home in Hilton Head that will rent well. So what we do is we bring together a group of people and we allow them to buy a property. So imagine if it's $1 million property, you get 5 people. Now you're getting $1 million property for $200,000 shared among 5 different families. You can do whatever you want with that property. You can rent, if you want, you can rent it to offset some of that income. Otherwise, you can just use those 5 to 10 weeks every year as your, vacation home. But the idea is you're getting a much better, affordable place for less money. And it brings into market all these, people who want to have a second home, but they never thought they could. And they don't want to timeshare because timeshare, you're not increasing any of your equity. You're just buying time. So I always tell the joke that at Plum, we're like, if Airbnb and timeshares had a baby, we would be the answer to that. So.
Yeah, I think what you just said, because that's I think we need to drill down on that, because that is the misconception. Because in a timeshare, there's no ownership at all. Okay, right?
Correct. Yeah, you're just buying time in a building, and it's there. Now they have all different kind of programs, so you can change where you go. But the minute you buy that, it goes to zero. Try to sell your timeshare for any profit. You can't.
There's no value in it at all.
The only thing some people are able to do is maybe sell their maintenance cost. But the asset, the original purchase, goes to zero immediately. Whereas with us, we have a vibrant market of people selling shares of their properties as well. So you have buyers coming in, and you have sellers able to, on our marketplace, just list their property and on MLS and sell their share of their property. Because
they're actually on title. So this is I think a key thing is you're essentially tenants in common, if you will, and you own. So as the asset appreciates, your share would appreciate accordingly, right? It would go up with it. That's inheritable, right? So that becomes an asset. It's an estate asset. So if that's something you want to keep intergenerationally, you can pass that on to your children. Am I correct in that?
Well, sort of, but we take a little different approach. Okay. So what we do at Plum is the property would be in an LLC.
Got it.
We move the property to an LLC. And so now the transactions become very simple. The share becomes much more fungible because
you're buying shares.
Selling is shares of an LLC. It still retains all the value. You can inherit it. You can pass it down to your next generation. So it retains all that value. It protects your liability. That's one thing, right? So if you're going to rent it or whatever, it being in an LLC is good. It protects your personal assets. But it also makes it very easy to transact with it, because all you need to do is update the operating agreement with the new owner, sign a membership interest purchase agreement, and the transaction happens. So I know you spoke to me that you recently had talked about tokenization and the ability to sell things. This is that step in that direction, because we can sell a share on our marketplace online, just like you're buying an Airbnb or renting an Airbnb.
See, and I really, folks, if you're watching this and listening to this is a key point here, because when you're buying and selling real estate, right? And I want to, right now I actually have a client. They're tenants in common. He needs to get out of it, and it is a process. This isn't just like, oh, hey, I literally have two clients who own a property together. One wants out. So how do you get out? Well, you either go cash out your money and buy them out, and then that's a whole process in itself, or you sell the property. This is so simple, because this is shares. This is fractional ownership. This is basically, hey, I'm going on the marketplace, you buy my shares, and there's no whole, marketing the property and doing all this other stuff that you would do in a traditional real estate sale. I mean, that's a very distinctive point, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, that's our business. We have tons of people who come to us in similar situations.
Yeah.
That are, that's one of them, where they're in a joint, tenants in common situation, and they want to get out of it to make their shares of their property more fungible. That happen all the time. We also have people who are getting burnt or not making as much profit on the Airbnb short-term rental market as they thought, and they want to kind of share the costs of that property with other investors. So a lot of that, where people are coming in and with investment groups, because if you think about Airbnb market, there's certain markets that rent all the time. They're constant. It's the big houses, right? Constant, no problem. They're renting, they're going up every year, everything like that. Those tend to be the more expensive, upkept, like high-end Airbnbs on the water, close to the water, everything like that. Those have become extremely expensive to own those.
I want
So
to confirm that. I mean, because and I've just started to cut you off there, but sea pines, right? You're familiar with Hilton Head. That's what I love.
right,
Right.
yeah.
Are you thinking about making a move to the Low Country?
Whether you're searching for the perfect home or you're exploring vibrant communities on the coast or dreaming of a new lifestyle, we're here to help.
Contact the David Dale team today and let's make your dream a reality.
Sea Pines. And in my opinion, Sea Pines is a premier resort community, unlike any other place you're going to find on the East Coast or anywhere near water. And those properties, they might be a 12-bedroom, 14 bath house, can sleep, 15 people, 20 people. They're $2, $3, $4, $5 million, if not more, but they're up there, but they yield $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year, year in and year out. So you can
no problem.
Be like, hey, I own one of the most luxurious, beautiful properties in Sea Pines, but you're in it for $500,000, $400,000.
Right, exactly right. And that is a lot of our clients. So they see that trend and they'd rather own a piece of a property that's going to make bank than, try to, buy a smaller property and hopefully make some profit.
Yeah, amen. So I want I'm sorry.
That's one of our markets. That's one of the beauties of what we do.
That's awesome. So I want to touch on something because you've brought it up twice. Let's talk, because for a lot of people, it may be, I'm sure there's savvy, sophisticated investors out there, but for your average folks out there who are just looking for a second home, fungible. You keep saying that because we hear things like, especially in the tokenization, crypto, blockchain world, non-fungible tokens, fungible tokens. Let's talk about fungible. Break that word down for people who may be like, what does fungible even mean?
Right. So if you buy a share of a house, one of the kind of concerns people have is, what if in 5 years I want to get out? Or I want to upgrade. I want to go to a different house. Or I want to do something a little different with my money.
Yeah.
And locked in is kind of where everyone goes. And so that's where we came in with Plum. And even without us, it's still, you can sell shares of your vacation home fairly easily. But with Plum, we've just made it easy, much, much easier. So you can list your share of your property on our marketplace, sell it, you list it up there, you advertise it, usually, it sells in a short amount of time. And then the sale is so easy because, as I said, all the information is on the marketplace. You can see everything you need. All you do is you click, I want to buy it, fill out a form, and then you own your share of that home. And that's what I mean by fungible, because it's so much easier than what you were just describing about tenants in common. You have to go through the whole process in a tenants in common of filing the deed, getting an attorney to change the terms, everything like that, just to break that apart. And that's why, our approach has turned out to be not only easier for the consumer, but it's also leads into the future of what you're talking about as tokenization, of just being able to buy and sell these things very easily without much research. So
yeah, and also cutting out the expense. I think that's one thing we don't fully realize. I mean, when you're talking about, you form a LLC one time, okay, you got your costs in that, but now you're able to do this without getting all the attorneys, without all the filing fees, without all the transfer costs, things like that. Anytime, especially in a world like ours where everything has a transfer fee, right? And anytime something's going on, so you don't realize all those layered costs are kind of being set aside, and the speed of which you're able to do it. And especially now, let me ask you this, 1031 exchanges, because this just popped in my head. Most of 1031 exchanges are going to be like kind, some sort of investment scenario. Are they able, do these qualify for something like that? Or how does that even work?
Yeah, so that's the only kind of downside on the LLC.
Got it.
So
Okay.
right now, and if you're sharing a property in an LLC today, the tenant, the 1031 exchange is really difficult to do. Okay, just to be as transparent as possible.
Sure.
What some people do is they'll switch back to a tenants in common situation and then sell their share, but it becomes difficult. The nice thing about Plum is we can facilitate it in the sense that we can still sell it on our marketplace. It's just you have to jump through to actually do the transfer is a little more difficult. Now, I have been researching this because it's a very hot topic and trying to figure out how we can get to the point at some point where an LLC can still participate in the 1031 exchange kind of racket that's going on. Because we get a lot of people who ask about that.
Well, I have a feeling there's going to need to be a lot of structural changes within the tax code. And I do feel like we're coming to a place where leadership on a national, federal level is starting to recognize that everything's changing, and that's really the blockchain type stuff. And I just feel like you're at the forefront. You're sort of at a perfect place in history, really, for what you're doing, because it feels like you're a forerunner kind of heading out, but you're meeting up with where things are naturally going anyways. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I do feel like, that's probably something that'll be addressed. I want to
back to the tax thing. There's some interesting things with the big, beautiful bill that just came out. Yeah. There's so many benefits with the new tax bill, like 100% depreciation.
Yeah.
Immediately. Immediately. So you take 100% cost of depreciation. So anything you put into the house, anything you do as a group, a much bigger house, you're able to deduct that against your taxes.
Yeah. So if you want to come in and if you need a roof, if you want to do the mechanicals, if you want to, remodel, all
AC, remodel, any of that stuff is all, really beneficial. And then there's tons of others. You can talk to your accountant, but there's tons of other breaks and benefits that an LLC can take advantage of where an individual would have a little more trouble to do it. So
1,000%, because it's a corporation at this point, and corporations are treated very differently. Yeah.
Are you thinking of selling your home?
With our exclusive Elevate package, we combine over 50 years of experience, cutting-edge data analytics, our unique marketing strategies, and our extensive network to help your home rise above the rest,
while maximizing your sales price and minimizing the time on the market.
So contact the David Dale team today to learn more.
And you as a fractional owner, if you will. Yeah, that's a great point. This is really good stuff. You got me excited, Doug. I'm just telling you.
I mean, we're coming out with our Marketplace 2.0, and you're literally able to transact, buy and sell a share online. I'm almost to that point. I don't need to get involved. You can go to our marketplace, you can click buy, and you can move it to your portfolio, and you own it.
See, I think that is the heart of what DeFi. When I don't want to go off track, but the DeFi revolution. That's what this whole blockchain, because that's pretty much the concept is. Why do we have so many layers of intermediaries, so many people taking money to do something where it's like, hey, Doug, I want to buy this from you. You want to sell it to me. I've got the money. You got, and we should be able to do that instantaneously without layers and layers and layers of red tape, really, if you will. And I feel like, and I can't emphasize anybody who's watching this, like, it's a very exciting time, and you have to embrace it because it's not time to be afraid of it. Because that's really what I want to break down too. I want to get into myths and misconceptions and things like that because people are cautious, especially there's going to be older folks who probably, let's face it, 55 years and older, they have the money. You know what I mean? Right. They have the money to do this, but they also are so used to the way things are done that, we're talking about these things and it makes them nervous because for your point earlier with the timeshares, like, everybody's heard the horrors of timeshares, but this isn't that. So with
Right.
that being said, I do want to kind of compare models, right? So, we all heard of the timeshares. Some may know of a company called Picasso because I see them on YouTube. I see ads on them. And that's usually the ultra luxury market. But I want to talk about how Plum is different and why why should somebody, look at buying in these investment properties, care about what Plum does. And I want you to really break it down. Tell me all about Plum, head to toe, nuts and bolts. What makes you different?
So we've thought through something that was a very difficult process in the past. So our focus started with how do you help people buy, sell, and manage their fractional vacation homes. So that's that's what we do. So think about all the details that come into play when you're sharing a home with 8 people. You're literally sharing it with those 8 people. You have personalities to deal with. You have, what are the rules? Hey, I want this week. I want this week. What do you do if somebody doesn't pay out of the 10 people, their maintenance? We get that. What if, if somebody wants to sell their share, do we have to just let them sell their share, or do we have first right of refusal? Maybe we can buy their share. All these things we've thought out from the beginning. So you have a well-structured operating agreement that goes with the LLC, and it's taken into account all these issues. So but the key thing there is we provide the flexibility for people that maybe went to Picasso, but they have a lockdown operating agreement. This is how it works. It's our way or the byway. So we have a lot of people coming to us that they say, there's just one thing I can't do with a Picasso. I want to do it with Plum. So that operating agreement is key. Some of the flexibility we provide is it's your house. You want to bring your pet for the vacation.
Yeah.
Now the whole group agrees whether pets are allowed. Maybe you'll let the owners bring a pet, but if you're going to rent it, if you're going to provide a short-term rental, renters bring their pet. So there's all these different nuances of whether people pay, not pay. So that's the first thing. So everybody should feel comfortable that we've thought through the whole thing. The operating agreement is available when you're ready to buy the share, so you see how it's going to function. You can review it with your attorney if you want, just to give you that confidence, but you don't have to because it's already been prepared. It's already thought out. And then we also provide an appraisal, so you're getting the value in your property. We provide an inspection report, so you're not taking on any headaches, or at least you know what you're getting into from a structure. So so you have a full idea of exactly what you're buying into in this. But then the big key that, everybody's great. Oh, this is great. We're going to share a house. We're going to all be together. We're going to have a great time. And then somebody has to manage it, manage the LLC. So who's paying the bills? Who's having the company meetings? Who's getting everybody together? Who's making sure the schedule's right? Who's calling up the electrician to fix, the AC, whatever it is, right? Who's doing that? So if you just formed a group on your own, you just did it without Plum, somebody has to volunteer to be the managing member of the LLC, and it takes a lot of time. So what we provide is extra help on the management. First, we provide an app called Plum Connect, which basically all the challenges in sharing a home: scheduling, communication, and finances. So we've taken care of those 3 things, and it made it easy. So if the group decides, we're going to manage it, we still have the Plum Connect app, which just basically takes care of some of the key things that a manager has to do can be a challenge. Then we also provide what we call Plum Concierge, which is our full LLC management, not to be confused with property management. We don't go in there, change the toilet paper or the paper towels or whatever. But we go in and we pay the bills. We set up the company meetings. We make sure all the expenses are right. We collect the maintenance fees. We do all that, keep it in the bank account, fully transparent to all the owners, but they don't have to go through and have that hassle there with the property. So by providing those 3 things, and lastly with the marketplace, allowing people to feel comfortable that they can then sell their share in the future if they want and take their equity out. Those three things tend to make people feel a lot more comfortable about the process.
So, okay, that's fascinating, by the way. So you really created turnkey. This is all the thinking that wears us down. You get them focused on, hey, where do you want to buy it, and where do you enjoy it, and then you've taken care of everything else.
Just about, yeah, just about. Some opt to not have us manage it, but some opt to do that. They could be an investment group that already knows who's going to manage it, who's going to do that. But then we take care of everything else.
Okay.
So like that's kind of the only binary. We're seeing more and more people move to us managing the LLC as well.
Just making it easier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did have a question, okay, because I'm thinking about it from my perspective, right? Like, so I do go on Plum, and I do want to buy, but in my head it's like I really need to kind of know who I'm getting in bed with, if you will, right? So how does that all work with matching up the people, and also, is there a limit? Like, do you say, hey, there's 20 co-owners? I mean, because obviously it's fractional. So, there's only 52 weeks a year, right? So you sort of want to limit that. You don't want to buy 2 days a year. You want to buy 2 weeks a year. But how do you match them up, and how do you, how do they meet? How do they discuss? Because I'm assuming you probably start with a framework like, hey, here's the things you need to be thinking about. Here's how we got to assemble this. But there's a lot of questions like, how are you going to do this? Who's going to do that? How does that all take place? And how do the people meet? Does that even make sense where I'm going with that?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. So, our one model is where we put a group together and then buy a property. So
got it.
I call it Match.com for fractional vacation home ownership. And it's just as hard, to find a spouse on Match.com as to get a group put together.
Swipe right, swipe left.
Yeah, exactly. So the sweet spot there is typically 4.
Okay.
And some stories are amazing. So we have one group we put together, and they're best friends now. So
wow.
in their weekly, they rented a lot, short-term rental, but 1 week a year, they all get together as families, and they bring their kids, and their kids play together. They get along great. And we keep hearing this story time and time again, like where, when you own something together, there's a certain pride of ownership. You want to upkeep, everything like that. And because they're leveraging our operating agreement, any kind of potential issues between the parties are mitigated very quickly, because you can just go right back. Oh, here in the operating agreement it says it. But it is fun to see like these families coming together and enjoying the property as well as reaping the rewards of the investment, because the investment is also key to their future. One of the reasons they're doing it is they want that income coming in every year, or at the very least offset all their vacation costs for the year. So if you think about it, you get 10 weeks.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You rent them for 8. Your 2 weeks are free. So it covers all the costs for the year for that vacation home. So it's very rewarding, but it is very difficult. I can't lie. Our biggest thing is to get that final group together. And once we do, it's great, because then they buy the vacation home that they want. They all agree on it, and they get to enjoy it. What we're seeing a lot more of is people who want to take equity out of their vacation home. Okay.
Really?
They want to just basically, they own the whole thing, and they say, I want to keep it, but I want to take this equity and I want to put it somewhere else. And so we have tons of people coming there, and it's turnkey for us. You go
so they sell their equity to these other owners.
Yeah, exactly. So we find the other owners. We help find the other owners, co-owners, but they're coming on board and just selling their property.
See, I love that too, because now let me ask you this though, and I know you're not an accountant, because one of the things that I do love about leveraging equity, because equity, most people don't realize equity gets you 0% every year. You're getting no return on your equity. So
It grows, but it just sits.
Well, the value of the asset grows, but the equity is sitting there doing nothing. And we both know velocity of money. It does you no good to have $1,000,000 because that $1,000,000 15 years from now has really got a purchasing power of a half a million, right?
Right.
Right. So you have to have the velocity of money. You have to have money working all the time. And I love it because that's what I love about property is you can strip equity tax free by taking a loan most of the time. But what are the tax implications of, because that becomes how does that even work? Right. Because you're selling shares into a company. Is that correct? I mean,
That's correct.
So is that income?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not an accountant.
Yeah.
But it would definitely, if you sold, if you made, again, it's all about again, I'm not an accountant. So the research I've done on this a couple of times is, so
we're telling everybody, talk to your professional. Don't.
Right. If you sell shares, you're going to protect yourself against any of the kind of capital gains tax, things like that are going. Now, I talk about this all the time. Now, the other proposal that's out there is they're going to get rid of the capital gains tax on property. So that they're thinking very seriously about that. And that would be great. But we're a mechanism to avoid that because you're keeping a share. You're not selling your home. And taking the profit. You're selling parts of it. And again, it's an LLC and how that works. Now, people have tried this. So in New York, right, people have sold half their home, right, using this mechanism.
Yeah.
State of New York goes, no. I know what you're doing. You're trying to avoid capital gains. So, there are states that have identified it and have notified it. And the best thing I can say is check with your accounting professional, but it tends to fall on the side of being very tax beneficial for anyone who's in a co-owned situation. Because you're getting ones, you're not getting money direct, things like that.
It's coming in as on the top line of the operation, so before it gets distributed. And I wanted to say something earlier too, because I feel like one thing about Hilton Head that I love, and I hate to keep pulling this back to Hilton Head, but I am a real estate agent on Hilton Head, South Carolina, is that this island is known for being an intergenerational meeting place. That's what I think makes it special. Like, I love Myrtle Beach. We go there, we play there. My son plays baseball there. We're going to be up there in December, as a matter of fact. And it's great, but it's different because here, this is exactly what you have. Because you have mom and dad, the 3 kids, all the grandkids. They come down, they get the big house together, and it is their annual retreat. That's a perfect scenario for a family to come together and say, hey, son, hey, daughter, hey, nephews, nieces, grandkids, whatever. We should come up together as an ownership group. The kids may only have $100,000 they can put in, but hey, mom and dad have this. Everybody has that. We can pull together 1.2, 1.5, and all of a sudden that's yielding. And that's the other thing I want to talk about too, is how does the rent, so the rental income comes in top line, you have your operational expenses. I'm assuming there's some sort of management, that you charge. Do they have to take distributions every year, or how does that work with the cash flow? Because I'm sure there's going to be people who are wondering, how does that all work with these units? Do they turn profit, or they pretty much, do you try to break them even? And if that's irrelevant or whatever, forgive me if I'm going down.
I mean, you think you want to break even or take a profit. It's really, again, it depends on the group of owners, but it's all spelled out in the operating agreement, how it's distributed. So usually it's a K1 at the end of the year. So you're just adding it to your personal tax as a K1 at the end of the year. There's different tax strategies that come into play with, taking a property, putting it in an LLC that you can do. One we talked about, the 100% depreciation. But again, for just regular everyday people who want to own a slice of a vacation property that can sleep all their family everything like that, and then maybe rent out other weeks that they're not using it, and have that be free every year. That's what we just make that easy to do it that way.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So I kind of want to move on because this is going to sound like a crazy question. Forgive me if I'm a crazy interviewer here. But how do you vet people? Right? Because for me, one of my things
that is a great question.
Because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that we instituted very early is basically we hardly converse with anyone that's not Plum certified. So we have this whole process where, I would love to do more, but we basically, every person who wants to, explore buying a share of property, or even if they want to sell shares of their home, they need to get Plum certified on it. And basically what that is just, a credit check and a background check. So we just want to make sure those two things, at least we can check the box. And then when it comes time to purchase a piece of property, we do an asset verification. So we make sure they have the assets in the bank, and we also do a confirmation of income. So we know that they can afford the month to month. So they not only have the cash, but they also have the income. But we really try to encourage people to be involved, because you have all different price points on our marketplace. You have as low as $100,000 all the way up to 500, where people are transacting. So we wait to do the asset verification and income verification until the end of the process, because we don't want to verify somebody for $100,000 and then they go, "I want to jump in on the $500,000,000," and they can't afford it. So those are some of the things we do. But the key thing is the Plum certified label being, the credit check and background check.
I just sort of want to make sure I don't have a serial killer in my group.
Exactly.
No
Same with me. And
I enjoy serial killers, but
that's why we implement it. You are literally going into business with these people.
You are, and I can see that being sort of for some, maybe a stumbling block. But I think that the opportunity, and I think more importantly, this is what you're building, and what Plum. I see so much value in it, because you are there as a true partner, mitigating as much as you can some of these problems, because the opportunity's there. But but I'm not going to go do this myself, right? Because you hit it at the very beginning. We thought through a lot of this. Not only have you thought through it, but you've learned as you went. Like, how long has Plum been doing this? So what is, and how did you even start this, by the way? Let's get to your background in this. Like, how does Doug Rich, Forrest Gump his way into this? No offense.
But that's legitimate. Actually, I kind of backed into it because I got called in from the investors to take over from the person who originally thought of this. So I call myself really a refounder, because basically I had done a real estate marketing company. With my wife, I had done the beginnings of what it was called Virtual Broker Edge. And basically it was the ability to basically take all the new marketing tools and buy a piece of property online. We had a deal room, we had everything just right on the internet. COVID hit and took that idea out. And then the investors came to me about Plum, and I was like, this is the answer. It's almost like Virtual Broker Edge. But now what it is we literally can transact these online. Still take advantage of those marketing tools like Matterport, drone technology, video walkthrough, photography, being able to take all those tools. And I just found out, and you probably knew this already, but Matterport now has outdoor Matterport, where you can go around the house. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I do that with our list. I'm shocked at actually how few agents are using that technology, because
it's unbelievable.
It is, especially in a market like ours, where so much of the business is relocation, and so much of that is research way before they relocate for 2-3 years. And you're able to give them an immersive experience sitting at their laptop or sitting on their TV right now, you know?
Right. Exactly. Unbelievable. That's why, I mean, so coming out of that market, I knew it would be perfect for this.
Yeah.
And so I know, so, our whole marketplace facilitates Matterport, YouTube, the whole thing. So people can get a full idea of the home and maybe even purchase it sight unseen. So I haven't done one yet where it's sight unseen, but I'm hoping to get there at some point where it's fully sight unseen.
It's funny because I'm actually closing a deal next week and it's a sight unseen.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, again, it depends, as the market picks up, those things happen,
Yeah.
again, so I hope
100%.
so.
Well, what's funny is it happened after I did a personal video walkthrough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're going into the closet. We're going here. Here's what the toilet looks like. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah, exactly. You see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when we were doing all the video marketing, that was the key, is the video walkthrough, how you did it, good photographers being able to go through. And then I've heard of real estate agents who are on FaceTime just walking around the house, like showing somebody the house as well. So, it's the market is coming, the immersive market where people are getting the information without having to be there physically. Now, like I said, they still go, but this helps them get there. If you know what I mean. Like, it qualifies them out. They'll know if they don't like it, by all the technology that we bring to the table there. But anyway, so my background. So coming from them, seeing this, the investors asked me to take over and bring it to the next level.
So I want to talk about that technology, because let's dive into Plum Connect. Did you build that? It's a proprietary app? And how does that, what is that like for, break it down for what a potential co-owner would experience with that app? Is that sort of the hub of where everything is ran through?
Yeah, when you're owning in your owner's life, that's where it runs through. So we found that, using tools like, everybody communicates differently. Text, phone, you mentioned different age groups, everything like that, right? So that's one challenge. So communication tends to be the biggest, right? Finances are second. Maybe not. Scheduling is second. Finance is third. And we realized that some groups use Google Calendar, some use Outlook, this and that, they're all over. There's no, having a centralized schedule is hard and difficult to maintain. Then you have communications. I called you about that. No, you didn't. I sent you an email about that. I didn't see the email, all that. So we basically built Slack or, messages.
We use Slack.
Right.
Yep.
So you have a full record of all the communications, everything like that. And it supports direct messaging as well as different topics that might come up. Do we need a new shower curtain in the upstairs bedroom? And then everybody can comment on it. No, I love that shower curtain. I love mold, whatever. Anyway, you have that communication area. And then the last is financing. So we partner with Mercury Financial, Mercury Bank, and every one of our properties, they have an account with Mercury Bank, free of charge. Mercury Bank has some features that are very good. Expense management, full transparency is really the key, but full
100%. I can see that. Yeah.
And then they offer these debit cards for all the owners, so that they can, let's say you're at the house and you notice it needs propane, a new propane tank. Rather than having to fill out an expense report to the corporation, everything like that, you can just take your debit card, buy the propane on the account, and you're good to go. Maybe you go to the group, I'm getting new propane, everybody goes, okay. But the debit cards have limits on them, like $250 or whatever, so no one can go to Vegas or whatever and, gamble away everything. So that's our partnership with Mercury Bank. But then also documentation. Everybody, you have your operating agreement, you have your membership purchase agreements, You have your warranties, you have your everything. So we have centralized storage for the documentation as well around the house.
And it's all housed in that app, in the Plum Connect.
Yeah, I should have. And the reason we were so excited about it too is a lot of people don't realize. Well, you had just mentioned you have two situations where it's tenants in common, joint ownership, right? There's millions of co-owned homes. I'm in Pawleys Island, and there's hundreds co-owned properties right here in Litchfield by the Sea. And they don't have a Plum Connect. And the beauty of Plum Connect is they can go on the App Store, they can download Plum Connect, and they can start using it to manage their co-owned home today, whether it's LLC or tenants in common or whatever. They can use our app to help manage their co-owned property. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does scheduling work? Because that was another topic I wanted to touch on was because so much of this is making sure that thing is occupied, right? So somebody's got to market it. Are you doing Airbnb, VRBO, all the above? And how does an owner, because, there are co-ownership here, okay? And the way it works is you are every season, if you will. So, you got fall, winter, spring, summer. You are guaranteed a certain time in every season. So that way, like every third year, you're getting a Thanksgiving. Every, third year, you're guaranteed a Christmas. Every third year, you're guaranteed a 4th of July or whatever it is. How does that work within your system for somebody who says, I really want to be on Hilton Head for 4th of July, or I really want to be down there for RBC Heritage Week? How do you decide all that?
Well, again, we work closely with whoever's selling the property.
Okay.
Selling the shares. The shares usually come with a 5-year. So in our model, the shares come with a 5-year schedule.
Got it.
We have 2 tools to help them. We have a fair use scheduling calendar that leverages AI, balances out the holidays that you mentioned, balances out high season, low season, rental season, if that's your strategy, and then comes up with a schedule for the number of shares that you're offering your property. So that's one. That's our fair use calendar. Other people opt for a round robin type approach. So it's just, let's say there's 5 owners. Owner 1 gets week 1 on starting January 1st, and then you round robin it for that way all through the year. And then year 2, the second owner gets it. And there's 2 weeks of maintenance in there, so everybody can do that. So that's a good
point too, because there's really only 50 weeks because you have to come in, furniture, dishes, all that stuff has to. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the other one. And then we do allow for people to kind of make their own schedules, especially if it's a seller coming in who wants to sell shares, and the seller might just want like the off season.
Yeah.
So then we can develop a specialized calendar for the other shares of the non-owner. We don't like that, Dave, just to be honest, because you have to envision that in the future, the original owner who's retaining some shares may want to sell those, and you don't want to be dog shares for the rest of the owners. So we because we're flexible, that's one thing, but we always encourage everybody to go. Right now, we try to push them towards the round robin scheduling because that is really the fairest. There's no, again, it's just a rotating schedule.
We have here on the properties that are they're more condo, down on by the West End. That's kind of where everything's out in Folly Field. But that's the same thing. And I find it works out because you're going to get every season, certain holidays that you want. You just got to wait your turn for the other ones. Or are you able to swap with other owners?
Yeah, so that's the other thing about our app is we have the direct messaging capability, and you can go and swap.
And that's not a problem. That's pretty easy to do. Yeah.
Eventually, we're going to grow it to cover all Plum properties.
Yeah.
So we swap, across the country. But right now
like a timeshare. I'm just kidding.
That's what we don't want people to get confused. But
yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
It would be nice to be able to intercommunicate with other Plum co-owners and say, "Hey, do you want? I'll trade a week for you with you." But
well, I'll tell you, because I'm in a boat club here, and one of the things I love is I have my home club and I do all the things I want. But because we're part of a larger network, I get 3 weeks a year at any boat club that we have. 3 visits a year where I can go do it, and it's interoperable, and it makes it so convenient. Because if my son's in a tournament in Charlotte, I can go hit 4 marinas up there, and I love that interoperability aspect of it. So that would be really cool to bring that to this, something like that.
Yeah, we do. Is it Freedom Boat Club? But I mean, I don't know if it is.
Free, but yeah, Freedom's here. There's actually boat clubs now. Yeah. That's a whole. We actually did a podcast with them. I mean, that's a cool experience as well.
Stay tuned. Our next venture is. I mean, in the future, we see yachts as another co-owned situation, because rich people own these yachts and they sit empty, how often? So wouldn't it be great to share the expenses and everything like that with other?
My wife is addicted to below deck. You ever, right? And I look at these things, and these people are paying $100,000 for 4 days, 5 days. And it's mind blowing what those yachts can pull in,
Right.
Now, you got to have a captain, you got to have a crew, but I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of profit in that, when it's all said and done. Oh, wow. Now you're talking my language. Like my wife, she'd be all in on that, But I do want to go back to the marketing aspect of keeping these things occupied. You as Plum, that's something you would provide as a service? Because I know for anything here, any property management company, it's essential that you got a property management company that's going to keep that thing occupied, because that's, for all the owners. So tell me about that aspect of your company.
Well, we'll handle the interaction with the rental companies.
Okay.
So, with the actual or Airbnb, but we also charge for that. So it's either, we charge on per week or per month, but basically that's an additional service to our Plum Concierge. And that,
but they somebody else if they wanted a rental management company.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It can be anybody. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is we're flexible. And we provide as much services as you, as the co-owner group, need. So, we'll do anything all the way down to not the property management yet. I'm working on that actual last piece, but up to that particular, go in, make sure that, everything looks good, change the toilet paper, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
wow, this is really good. All right. So I want to pivot now, and I want to talk about your relationship with real estate agents. So in case there's any agents out there, I'm assuming it's very important for you and your owners to work with very experienced realtors in the local markets. Talk about, to any agent that might be out there, like how would they connect with you and how would that work? Because you probably you want to work with agents, right? And have that relationship.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about how that all works.
Yeah. For anyone who's representing a seller, having options on how to sell that house, especially in a slow market, this is an option. So you can now go to the seller and say, why don't we just take your home and fractionalize it? You might even make a little extra coin on the sale. Now it can take longer, but who knows? In real estate, it's a weird thing. Like, could take forever to sell the house, but you could sell shares of it in a couple of months. Like I had one in Montana, it went 30 days, all shares. So it all depends on the market and things like that. I just had an investor come to me yesterday. He goes, I want to buy vacation homes and I want to sell all the shares and make that profit. So in other words, he holds it for maybe a little longer, doesn't sell the whole thing, but he's got a consistent profit he's going to make on selling that place.
That's
So,
a brilliant strategy.
yeah.
I think so.
And then,
All right.
on the sell side, I mean, I always wonder, like, why wouldn't you add this to your bag of tricks when you're going to, a presentation of somebody who wants to sell their house? We also have this other option where we can fractionalize it. It helps stabilize the price. It happens quicker. And
Yeah.
by offering this service, you should be making a lot more money on the transaction.
So do you
When I say a lot, I mean you can get 5 to 10% more for your house
Mhm.
in doing it in this situation than if you just sell it on the open market. If it's in a hot market, obviously, you can sell your house quickly. But it's often fun. Like, a lot of the sellers go, wait, you mean I don't have to sell my whole house? I can keep 2 weeks, or I can keep this.
Yeah.
Good to go from there.
Because I was going to say too, this is a very important thing, especially in a place like Hilton Head. Okay, where if you took Hilton Head and cut it in half, the southern part of Hilton Head, from say Folly Field down to Sea Pines, they allow short-term rentals. Okay, but the north side doesn't. But there's a community like Hilton Head Plantation, it's where I live, where not allowed to have you're not allowed to have short-term rentals, but there's nothing in the rules that says you can't have fractional ownership.
Exactly.
Right?
That we hit that a lot too.
So that's a big deal, because now somebody can be like, wait a minute, I really want to be on Hilton Head, and I would love to live in Hilton Head Plantation, but now I can fractionalize that, and I can own 3, 4, 5 weeks a year in one of the most premier, beautiful communities in the Low Country. And but I don't need to rent it out because I'm sharing the expense of everybody else. I just want to live there and experience it. And I'm from Canada. I want to come down, 5, 6, 8 weeks a year, and I split it with 4 other people. And now I got my 10 weeks, and it's only costing me $200,000. And I get the upside. And I get the resort. I mean, I'm getting mine.
That's where the flexible scheduling comes in.
Yeah.
Because people from Canada or whatever, if they get together with a group of 5 people, they buy in a non-short-term rental area. It's usually beautiful. It's much more residential. It's quiet. You get all that benefit.
Yeah.
And then, like, we get a lot of, I think Beaufort, it just limited short-term rentals and everything like that. But this gives you the option now of going for a month or 3 weeks or whatever, if you wanted to set up that flexible schedule.
Yeah, because what I love about it is it presents multiple avenues, right? Because one, hey, I need to get the short-term rental income. I really want to have an income producing, or I just simply want a place that I have where, Hilton Head Plantation, realistically, to get a really nice updated home, you got to spend $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, right? You're going to get a really nice home for that. But most people don't have that for a second home, but they might have 400,000.
Right.
They might have 50. And now all of a sudden, hey, what if I said to you, because these people, they buy it and they're only going to be in it 10 weeks a year, really, or 12 weeks a year. They want to go back north to New Hampshire because they love the summers up there, right?
Exactly.
This to me is like, as a tool, as something in my tool belt as an agent, and to any agent out there watching, you need to think about it different. Shift your paradigm and go, wait a minute. Now that person says saying, well, you really can't get on the island. You can't get in Hilton Head Plantation for $450 or $5. Boom. You know what though?
Yeah.
Let's find 3 other people who got $500,000, and we can get you the most beautiful place. You're going to have it for 12 weeks a year. And, you got the upside. You got all the resort style amenities. You're an owner versus a renter. There's nothing they can do or say about it. Boom. Solution. I mean,
we have all the tools on our website to kind of just develop that exactly what you want. As a real estate agent, you can do it, or as an individual buyer, you can do it. It's so easy to do.
I love it.
Yeah. So,
all right. So with that being said, because I do feel like, so the one thing on this, Doug, though, is I feel like part of your heavy lifting is that educational piece, because you are really shifting paradigms and you're shifting embedded ways of thinking that people have generationally. And I think what I would love to do is maybe we kind of think about this going forward, maybe having you on a regular somehow, to where we can start breaking down into chunks. What is fractional ownership? What are the steps? How does this work? Because, we don't have all day here on this. I feel like this is a good starting point to at least get the concept out there. But two things I want to say, hey, would you come back? Would you be willing? Yeah. I think we need to do this. And secondly, how do people, where do they go to connect with you? If they have more questions, where should I point them to say, hey, I really want to know more about Plum?
Okay, good. So first and foremost is plumcoownership.com, our website.
Okay.
We're on all the socials, Plum Co-Ownership, at Plum Co-Ownership, LinkedIn, Facebook, the whole deal. I have my newsletter. Sign up for my newsletter. I have weekly communications about different topics that relate to this. And I can be reached via Doug at plumcoownership.com. And I answer every email. So if people write me, I will answer it. So,
and we'll put that as, we're going to edit this, and we'll put that as an overlay as well, and a call to action at the end so that people know how to get a hold of you. And also for anybody out there, if you want to work with Doug and you want to get into a market like Hilton Head, which I encourage you to do, daviddale.com. We're here to help. And we love Doug, and we love what he's doing, and I think it's a great mix, and we can help you find those properties, and we can help you get into different communities that again, especially if you don't need the short-term rental income. But go to daviddale.com. Obviously, this is Real Talk. It's our podcast, but we're also real estate agents. So, Doug, I really, I just love, you got me excited about what you're doing. I'm thrilled that we were able to connect, and I feel like you are at times such as this. Like, this is built for where we are in the whole world with how things are moving. And I just applaud you for what you're doing. And I really hope this message gets out. And I hope people are able to see a new way forward and to actually come and can get that dream of the second home. Like you said, 8 out of 10 people dream of this. You can make this happen.
Yes. Thanks, Dave, so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And we'll get you back on soon. In the meantime, you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for coming on Real Talk. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you too.
Thanks, Doug.
Don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe to Real Talk Hilton Head, and leave us a review to help others discover the Low Country lifestyle.